Hi, everyone. I'm your host, Patty Giarrusso, and this is Let's Talk Pets on Society Bites Radio. Today, we welcome to the show Cora BRUFFY, and she's the executive director of FAERYLANDS Farms. And Cora is a college professor working on her PhD in psychology. She is certified in pet psychology, human psychology, and child psychology, along with pet first aid, pet nutrition, animal reiki, and she is working on her FEMA animal disaster management certification. She started her college career in archaeology and has worked with many Native American groups on cultural preservation and social and environmental justice issues. Animals and nature have always been her first loves, though. And her mission with Fairylands Farms is to provide a safe space for animals, humans, and nature to heal because she believes that in this chaotic world, love and positivity wins because the animals prove it so. Cora claims to have no special powers or gifts because the animals are the ones that provide all the love and healing while she just speaks human. She acts as their conduit. The health, happiness, safety, and well-being of the animals is top priority, and Cora has worked very hard in her life to achieve her goal of having an animal sanctuary to provide that space that's safe for learning and healing. Welcome to the show, Cora.
Hi, Patty. Thank you so much for having me today.
Yeah, I'm really excited to talk with you. So Fairylands Farms is a unique place because tell us, what kind of animals do you really specialize in there?
The goats are our main rock stars, so they're the ones that we do the most of our educational and therapeutic services with. But we also have a donkey, and we have rabbits and chickens and guineas and ducks and dogs and cats and turtles and fish, and I believe it, and then us humans. So we have a vast variety of species out here.
So how long have you been doing this, Cora?
I have been doing having goats and actually the farming has it's probably about 8 9 years now.
Oh, okay. And how did you start doing the goat therapy? Because I don't think I've ever heard of goat therapy.
Okay, you want me to explain that a little bit first before I
Yes,
go into it?
absolutely.
Okay, so basically, goat therapy is using goats to provide comfort and well being. And with any kind of therapy animal, the animal is there to help create that safe space for people because animals, they're just natural icebreakers. You know what I mean? And so the goats provide the comfort and support. They help create that safe space. And then basically for me, if you want to talk with me, we do like stress management, work on mindfulness type practices. So just like dogs and horses are therapy animals are different from service animals. Service animals are protected by ADA, and of course, they have those. They're specifically trained to work with people and to assist people. Whereas for therapy purposes, those types of animals, they're more there for mental, emotional, and spiritual support.
Okay. So how did you decide or how did you determine that goats were such good therapy pets?
Just naturally, goats are just they're such great little creatures. They're naturally very sociable. Now, like any animal or even human, you've got to build that relationship of trust with them. But they're just naturally very engaging. And it's kind of always been my dream to have a farm and have the animals. And I don't know if you're into astrology, but I'm an Aries, so I kind of got the ram. Yeah, I kind of got that ram natural goatiness to me anyway. So I really connect with them. And it just took me, many years of traveling around to try to find a permanent space so that I could actually have that place to start having those kind of animals in my life. And like I said, it was about 8 9 years ago. I ended up on a little goat farm out in the Mojave Desert in California, and I got my first goat there, and that just started this wonderful adventure.
And do you still have that same goat?
Sadly, I do not.
Oh,
We had a dog a few years ago, and she got locked up in that chain, and I don't know if it broke her neck or it just asphyxiated her. So I was
oh,
pretty up. Yeah, she was like my baby. She was my first one, so she was a bottle baby, and so she tragically passed away, and that was very devastating to me. But in the same vein, it's like everything that I've been working on since then, it's kind of in her memory, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. That's how I started my organization. Yep.
Oh,
So,
right.
yeah,
Oh, and
yeah.
that's so great. Your nonprofit that you do too. I just having the goats kind of wander off and not being able to find them out here on the property. I know how great, what a relief it is when you finally reconnect with your animal.
Yeah. So, how after you got your first goat, now you have quite a few of them. I was looking at their little bios on your
Uh,
webpage, and they're rescue goats, right? That
eh,
you rescued. Are they local? I saw one was from Ohio, I think, and it looked like maybe the other ones were all local. Is that how you get them?
Um, right. Most of them that I do get locally. But then again, I have these rare incidences where somebody in another state wants to bring me some goats. We actually did get some goats from Ohio, and they were from a lady who grew up with my dad, basically, and they were kind of like my dad's second family, and they were just getting old, and couldn't really take the time that the goats needed anymore. And so she was like, well, if I'm going to take him somewhere, I'll take him down to Cora. So I was really honored by that.
Yeah. So you mentioned when before we went on the air that you just got your 501c3, right? And now
Right.
you are a nonprofit organization as well.
Yes, that is correct. And you know how I guess the G-rated way of saying that process is complicated.
Yeah.
That is. And so, yeah, it's definitely a relief. And then just to answer your question, so getting into the actual goat therapy part of it, that kind of came along a few years ago when I started on my PhD. I was looking at just mindfulness in a kind of more an academic setting. But the more I got the goats and I got more goats and we got more animals out here, I kind of started turning more towards mindfulness with animals. And since I spend the most time with the goats, it just kind of developed into, the mindfulness with the goats and then the goat therapy.
So do people, I know with this COVID, there's probably some, it's probably more difficult, but if it wasn't happening right now, do people come to you to the farm? Do you bring your goats to them? How does it work?
It works a little bit of both ways. So, like you said, yeah, the COVID really shut us down because our main goal is we want to get into hospitals and assistant livings and take the animals there, especially
Hmm.
children's hospitals. I'm like, I think that would at least bring a smile to people's faces.
Yeah.
And so, what we've been doing over the summer is we've been having Zoom goat therapy sessions. So, those have been a lot of fun. And it's basically, I have the camera set up. So, you're kind of looking at the goats the whole time that we're chit chatting with each other. And yeah, and then people do come here on the farm and hang out with the goats. And that's so fun too, because we have 11 goats. And so, everybody seems to always be drawn to a specific one. Like nobody goes to the same goat. Everybody always has their favorite.
Hmm. So besides the goat therapy, you have other programs that you do as well, correct?
That is correct. We also so with the goat therapy, it basically is more about the mind, teaching mindfulness and providing general health and well-being to people. Because I am not licensed in psychology yet, just certified in that, we can't diagnose mental disorders or treat mental disorders. So it's like a complementary therapy, if that makes sense. So it'd be like, yeah, so like you go to the heart doctor and maybe you need to lower your blood pressure, so they advise that you try to get more exercise or maybe go hiking in nature more. That'd be kind of the same with the goats. It'd be like, okay, so a lot of times autistic children, they work really well with them, or people with PTSD. And so it would be the therapist would either have their own goats they bring in, or say like someone like me who would just be considered a handler at that point. I would bring the goat into their session, and then they could do their therapy and then have the goat there interacting too.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about taking them to the hospitals and stuff. because goat therapy is something I've actually never heard of. I've seen the little mini horses, but goats, that is really cool.
Oh yeah, and then and as far as therapy certified therapy animals go, the goats are starting to kind of get a little popularity here in the past couple of years, but it is kind of a little novel in this sense, and so that is kind of one of our goals. Is we would very much like for goats to be recognized as authentic and official therapy animals eventually.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I mean, if they can do that with horses, why couldn't they do that with a goat, right?
Oh, right, absolutely. And I know there are some people, especially in Nashville, because we're about an hour outside of Nashville, Tennessee. There are people that take llamas into the hospitals, and I think that's wild. I'm like, llamas are a little more heated. Well, I don't know. Goats are kind of hedonistic. Llamas can be a little more unpredictable, I think.
Yeah,
But
don't they spit on people?
oh yeah, like they can spit on people. Like at least the goats won't do that. I think the worst thing you have to worry about from the goats is that they'll start chewing on your clothing, and if you let them chew too much, they will put a hole in it.
Oh, jeez. So how easy is it to train a goat? It must be fairly easy if you're considering them for, hoping to get them certified as therapy pets down the road. So talk about that, like the best practices that for keeping them, and actually, I guess you mentioned that they can be potty trained.
Goats, actually, you can trade them. And now, when it comes to pooping, that is a problem because you can't really make them litter train them or something, you know. But when it comes to peeing, you can get them to go in a specific place. And a good rule of thumb there I found is that pretty much every 20 minutes they are urinating and defecating. So if you can kind of work with your animals and hang out with your animals enough that you kind of got their feeding schedule down, it's very easy if you like to have them inside your house a lot to take them outside. You can kind of figure that out. And then goats they're really very smart creatures. They do understand human language. They are actually, we say, one of four species that understand complex human language. So it's humans, other primates, and so that we break those up, and then whales, dolphins, and then goats. And so they're super smart. They can understand commands, kind of like dogs. They know come. I would like to say they know no, but in that instance, they're like teenagers to where they want to do the opposite of what you tell them. you know and so you can't teach them that. You can teach them to come, like I said. And then with some of my goats that I work with the most, I have two specifically that I work with pretty consistently. They know how to load up in the car. So when I say load up, they run to the car and jump in just like the dog does. And you can train them to walk on leashes, and that can be a little difficult if you don't get them when they're really young and start leash training them. It can be a little difficult when they're a little bit older because they don't, really understand what to do, and so that they'll kind of like dogs. You just gotta take that time and patience to work with them and get them comfortable and used to having that harness or that leash on them, collar leash on them, and they will start to walk with you.
Hmm. So what about getting along? You mentioned you have all kinds of different animals there. So how do they get along with the other animals? Are they all buddies?
They really are. They really do. I know. I always think it's so odd. My husband and I sit here and we watch all our animals, and we're like, why do people say that? Like, dogs and cats don't get along, or dogs are always trying to harass other animals. It's because all of ours are really good about getting along with each other, and even down to the rabbits. We'll have the goats and the rabbits with each other at times, and pretty much now the goats, of course, like I said, they're little heathens, so they like to be mischievous, and they will try to like ram the other animals. But I don't. None of that's ever any aggressive thing. I think that's kind of a way they play too.
Hmm.
So they really do. Everybody out here gets along really good. So I would like to say